Hello everyone and welcome to The Big Game. I'm John Sartori alongside Freddie Rosario, and today we'll take a look at how the soccer team has begun its Southland Conference Championship defense.
We'll also highlight the Lady Lions volleyball team's non-conference schedule.
But first, let's check in on how the football team has fared through the early portion of the season. After starting the season with a loss for the first time since 2012, the Lion football team knew it was time for a change at the quarterback position as the Lions headed across the country to take on 23rd ranked Southern Utah. Senior Justin Allo earned his first career start against the Thunderbirds, who had lost 24-0 to FBS opponent Utah the week before. Would this new-look Lion offense get the job done in hostile territory? Let's go to the highlights. Southeastern taking on Southern Utah. First quarter, Taylin Henderson gets the handoff up the middle, bowls over defender. I don't even know what that word means, but I made it up during the highlights. And that would lead to this touchdown pass, the first of Justin Allo's career, as he finds Brandon Acker in the end zone. 7-0 Southeastern early, but Southern Utah would have an answer as Patrick Tyler finds Mike Sharp over the middle, and that would set up Southern Utah's first score of the game as Tyler finds his man Brady Meeson. He's got some great hair, and it's a great play for a Southern Utah touchdown, 7-7. But Southeastern on the ensuing drive, Justin Allo finding Jawan Dickey to the 30-yard line. That would lead to a Southeastern field goal. Allo continued his impressive performance as he rolls around the pocket, finds Brandon Acker deep down the sideline, and hide the children. Southeastern has a 2-touchdown lead as Rasheed Harrell gets into the end zone. 17-7 Southeastern over Southern Utah. But the Thunderbirds, a great football team, and they answer like any good team does as they drive down the field out of bounds at around the 12-yard line, would set up another Southern Utah touchdown out of the wild Thunderbird formation. That's a touchdown for Ty Rutledge. 17-14 is your score at halftime. Second half, trickeration from the Thunderbirds as Sharp delivers a pass downfield, and Southern Utah would regain the lead as it's Meeson again. Still got the great hair. 21-17. Thunderbirds lead. Southeastern looking to answer after a great punt, pin them inside the 5. It's Acker again, deep into Southern Utah territory, but the drive would sputter out as this was really the turning point of the ballgame. A 4th and 7 decision to run a speed option is blown up in the backfield, and then Southern Utah up 21-17. They're going to add to it right here. Offsides on Southeastern. It's a free play, and the Thunderbirds take advantage of it. 27-17. Southern Utah leads, but Southeastern not done. On 4th down, Allo keeps the game alive and Southeastern chances alive, finding Dickey over the middle, and then Allo's second touchdown pass of the game, finding Dickey in the end zone. It's 27-23. Last chance for Southeastern. Allo's pass picked off, and Southern Utah defeats Southeastern by a score of 28-23. Despite the loss, Lion fans had plenty to be optimistic about following the Southern Utah game. Our very own Richie Solaris took a look closer at what went into the Lions' near upset over the Thunderbirds.
The Lions returned home from Cedar City, Utah, nursing a 28-23 loss to the Southern Utah Thunderbirds. They fell just one possession short of the win when the Thunderbirds' defensive back Tyler Collette put the final dagger into the Lions' heart by intercepting senior quarterback Justin Allo's pass with a little over a minute left to play. Although the Lions took another tough loss on the road, the team played well and proved that they're ready for conference play. The Lions took a big step up towards becoming a feared offense in the Southland Conference once again. Senior quarterback Justin Allo got his first career start at Southeastern, and he ran the starting offense as if he had been the signal caller from the very beginning. Allo had perhaps the best performance a quarterback has had at Southeastern since the Brian Bennett years when Bennett took the Lions to 2 straight conference championships. Allo completed 18 of his 31 passes for 275 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. He took the Lions on a 75-yard touchdown drive, which was capped off by a 19-yard touchdown strike to Brandon Acker on the Lions' very first possession of the game. The Lions went into halftime with a 3-point lead over the Thunderbirds. Allo continued to drive downfield and put up points on a very strong Thunderbird defense. Senior receiver Brandon Acker was Allo's main target of the night, catching 8 passes for 148 yards and a touchdown. Allo also hit Acker for a 50-yard run and catch, which put them into the opponent's territory. The defense found themselves on the end of a trick play later in the quarter when Southern Utah receiver Mike Sharp took the ball and threw a 21-yard pass downfield. The defense would then give up a 10-yard touchdown pass that put the Thunderbirds in the lead. The defense then was continually pounded by the running game, giving up 215 yards on the ground, most of which came from star running back Malik Brown, who had 146 yards on 32 carries. The Lions' defense turned into a tackling machine in the second half, having two of their starters with 9 total tackles apiece, along with Ryan Seegers with 10 and Max Lyons with 11. However, this wasn't enough to stop the Thunderbirds' offense, who scored on a 9-play drive, putting them up 28-17. Allo tossed his second touchdown pass of the game late in the fourth quarter to put the Lions closer to the Thunderbirds. Unfortunately for Allo, he had his pass batted down on the 2-point conversion, and the Lions were still down 28-23. Then on the Lions' next ensuing drive, Allo had his pass intercepted to finish the Lions. With the loss to the Southern Utah Thunderbirds, the Lions now start 0-2 for the first time since the 2012 season. However, Lions fans still have something to be excited about. With a much improved offense and a very stout defense, the Lions are confidently looking towards opening up conference play and beginning their journey back to the Southland Conference Championship game. The Southeastern Lions will face Northwestern State at their home opener on September 24th, and they will look to rebound from a rough start. For the big game, I'm Richie Solaris.
Before its strong showing in Week 2 against Southern Utah, Southeastern opened up the season by heading to Stillwater, Oklahoma to take on the Big 12's Oklahoma State Cowboys. Special teams errors and turnovers plagued the Lions, who could only muster 213 yards in a 61-7 loss. Tailback Taylin Henderson was the bright spot for the Lions as he ran for 69 yards and the team's only score of the day.
Following 2 straight losses to open up the season, the Lions will return home to open up the Southland Conference portion of their schedule against Northwestern State. I was able to take a closer look at the matchup as the Lions not only look to break into the win column, but continue their recent dominance in this in-state rivalry. Coming off its first 0-2 start since 2012, the Southeastern football team will open up the home portion of its schedule in a Southland Conference opener against in-state rival Northwestern State. When the two square off, Southeastern will be looking to put its first victory in the win column as the Lions lost 61-7 to FBS opponent Oklahoma State before bowing out to an FCS top 25 team in Southern Utah 28-23. NSU is also searching for its first victory as the Demons were dominated by Big 12 power Baylor 55-7 before losing their Southland Conference opener to Incarnate Word 21-18. Northwestern comes to Hammond looking for its first victory in the series since 2011 when it bested the Lions 51-17. Since the hiring of Ron Roberts in 2012, the Lions are 4-0 against their rivals from Natchitoches. Dating back to last season, the Lions have lost 6 games in a row and are 2-9 over their last 11 ball games. After serving as the primary backup throughout the preseason, senior Justin Allo has earned his spot as the starting quarterback for the Lions, passing for 275 yards and 2 touchdowns in his first career start against Southern Utah. On the ground, Southeastern is led by converted defensive back Taylin Henderson, who comes into the game with 126 yards rushing and a touchdown. Senior wideout Brandon Acker leads the young Lion receiving corps through 2 games, with 9 receptions, 201 yards, and a touchdown. The Northwestern State quarterback situation has been less than ideal, as 4 quarterbacks have taken snaps, but none of them have been able to find the end zone through the air. The Demons feature a 2-headed monster at running back, with DeMard Lorenz and Chris Jones, who have combined for 250 yards and a touchdown on 42 attempts. One of the best names in college football leads the Demon receiving corps. Tough McLean heads into the Southeastern game with 6 receptions for 111 yards for a Northwestern State squad which has struggled through the air. Defensively, junior safety Austin Balthazar has been a bright spot for the Demons as he leads the squad with 16 tackles. Despite an 0-2 start, Southeastern hopes that the strong performance from Justin Allo can continue into their Southland opener here at Strawberry Stadium as they look to avoid just their second 0-3 start since the return of football to Hammond in 2003. The Lions will also be looking to avoid their 7th consecutive loss, and to do that, the defense will need to produce turnovers, something they've done just once in 8 quarters of play so far this season. For the big game, I'm John Sartori.
In mid-August, the worst natural disaster since Hurricane Katrina hit the southern region of Louisiana. In total, 20 parishes were affected, resulting in the damage of over 100,000 homes and tragically the loss of 13 lives. In this desperate time of need, Lions athletes stepped up to the plate to do their part in helping their community get back on their feet. The Big Game's Jordan Rheams has the story.
With most of South Louisiana being ravaged by historic floodwaters, in-state university coaches and student athletes, including many from Southeastern, stepped in to help those in need.
I do think that us working together and helping people that we know support us in the community made us feel a lot better. I know our whole team really enjoyed helping people that needed our help as a whole group, because doing things by themselves is not as easy.
At first, I thought it was going to be hard, like not knowing what they were going through, because I've never experienced it before. So I didn't know what to expect. But once we got there and saw like everybody coming together and how many people were actually there helping, I enjoyed myself and thought it would be very fun.
It warmed the hearts of local civilians to see Lion athletics out in the community so much. Even the coaches were touched by the efforts of their players.
I thought all of them approached it with a great attitude. They had an attitude of, I think, of empathy for the people, and I was really pleased with how hard they worked. You know, sometimes when a coach makes you go do something, Jordan, you being a former athlete yourself, you go do it sometimes if your heart's not really in, especially when it's labor like that, very labor intensive, because that's all it was. And but I was really pleased with the way that they approached it, and I don't want to say they were excited about it, but they certainly approached it with the right attitude and worked hard. They were very humble.
I think it's really important that, you know, that we give out in the community. And as soon as I realized how the community was affected, we really wanted to get the girls out and get them the help any way we could. Initially, the girls were ecstatic. We are a team, like I said, that wants to get out and help. So we really were excited to be able to get out and help any way we could, going to houses, unloading food trucks, making plates, just anything where ley lines could help.
The Lions' flood relief efforts have been greatly appreciated by civilians, their coaches, and athletic director J.R. Teeds. When I spoke to J.R. Teeds via email, he told me that the Lions have gutted 60 houses between all teams, have a total of 2,300 community service hours between all teams, and he greatly appreciates the way these young men and women stepped up to help the community when called upon. For the Big Game, I'm Jordan Rheams.
With the 205th pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Harlan Miller, defensive back, Southeastern Louisiana University. These were the words that signaled the first line to be drafted since 2013 when Harlan Miller became an Arizona Cardinal. Unfortunately, Miller will not be seeing any action immediately on Sundays as he was released during the Cardinals' final cuts. He was immediately, however, signed to the team's practice squad. Miller finished his career at Southeastern, totaling 122 tackles and 7 interceptions to go along with being named an FCS All-American in 2014 and 2015.
The city of New Orleans rejoiced as the New Orleans Saints finally returned to the field to open up their 2016 schedule with a matchup against one of the most talented teams in football, the Oakland Raiders. A shootout between gunslingers Drew Brees and Derek Carr is what fans at the Superdome were treated to, as the game wouldn't be decided until the final play. Let's check out the highlights. Season opener between the Saints and Raiders on the first drive of the game, as the Saints' Drew Brees is strip sacked as Zach Strief gets blown off the field, and the fumble recovery was recovered by the Raiders. The Raiders would come away with a field goal, and in the first quarter, winding down, Latavius Murray pounds it in from 6 yards out as the Raiders are now up 10-3. The Saints answered back quickly, though. In 4th and goal, Brees is able to find Snead to tie up the score at 10. Brees in the offense with the ball again. This time, Brees throws it into double coverage in the end zone, and Brandon Cooks is able to hold on to it as the Saints score 7 more points. And Brandon Cooks with the arrow shot, just giving the Raiders another warning of his power and speed. Now in the third quarter, Brees throws up a pass to Cooks, and he'll just jog down the sideline. Well, a couple defenders chasing after him, but he will just merrily stroll on his way 98 yards for the touchdown. As Brandon Cooks, another arrow shot, Drew Brees excited, the longest play in Saints history. But the Raiders will not go quietly into the night as they pound in another touchdown to cut the lead to 5 after the 2-point conversion failed. The Saints add a field goal, making the score 27-19, and this time Jalen Richardson for the Raiders busts loose, and nobody's going to catch up to him as he puts the Raiders within 2 with a huge run to put the Raiders back in the game. Oakland attempting another two-point conversion this time, and it is an AC-DC connection as Carr completes it to Amari Cooper. The Raiders 27, the Saints 27. It's a new ball game. The Saints' chance to answer. Brees steps up, is able to complete the pass to Snead in the middle of the field. As he then fumbles, the ball rolls down, goes inside the 5. The Saints keep the possession. The drive is still alive. First and goal for Brees. Cadet touchdown as it now goes back up 34-27, Saints leading. But Derek Carr would not be denied as he finds Seth Roberts as he goes pinballing into defenders and finds his way into the end zone for a Raider touchdown. Another two-point conversion this time for the Raiders as they attempt it. Carr completes it to Michael Crabtree as it is good and gives the Raiders a 1-point lead as the game would come down to a rookie kicker, Will Lutz, missed from 50 earlier on in the game, this time from 61 as it'll just go wide left and the Saints fall to the Raiders 35-34. Prior to the Saints' near upset of the Raiders, the preseason wasn't as friendly to the black and gold. I was able to take a closer look at the games leading up to the regular season. The preseason may not be the best test for how a team will perform in the regular season. Most fans and teams can get a good look at new players and coaches. For the New Orleans Saints, the fans and players might want to forget that the 2016 preseason even happened. On their official Twitter account, the Saints asked fans to completely blink the preseason out of their memory and to focus on the regular season. The Saints played 4 AFC teams, the Patriots, Texans, Steelers, and Ravens, who went to combine 12-4 in the preseason, keeping the Saints winless for the first time since 1971. During the preseason, New Orleans ranked 14th in total offense and 11th in passing with 215 yards per game, 4 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. The running attack didn't fare any better, ranking 20th with under 100 yards per game. The inconsistent offensive performance prompted coach Sean Payton to start Drew Brees and the rest of the offense to play in the 4th preseason game, a game few starters participated in. After showing improvements in the first 2 games of the preseason, the Saints defense struggled in Game 3. Where the starters get the most playing time, the Steelers passed for 342 yards and starting quarterback Ben Roethlisberger tossed 2 touchdowns. By the end of the preseason, the Saints defense ranked 27th in total defense, giving up 341 yards per game and a -7 turnover differential. In the season opener, the Saints offense played like a completely different unit. Going back to the fast-paced, quick-tempo offense of the 2006 season, Brees and the Saints racked up 507 yards and Brees threw 4 touchdowns, a mark that took him 3 weeks last season to accomplish. The defense, on the other hand, was unable to hold the high-powered offense of the Raiders after cornerback Delvin Breaux went down with an injury. The game came down to rookie kicker Will Lutz attempting a 61-yard field goal that went wide left. While the Saints showed a lot of improvement offensively, the rushing attack for the Saints only achieved 88 yards, and the defense gave up 35 points and 486 yards. The next opponent for the Saints will be the New York Giants, coming off a big win against the Dallas Cowboys. For the big game, I'm Freddie Rosario.
When we return, we'll take a look at some of the new faces on the Lion basketball team.
We'll also check in with golf, volleyball, and soccer teams. The big game. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the big game. Coming off its 2015 Southland Conference Championship, expectations were high for the 2016 Lady Lions soccer team, who were pegged to finish second in the Southland Conference preseason polls. The Lady Lions have had a slow start out of the gate as they currently sit at 3-4-1. The Lady Lions now have 11 straight Southland Conference matchups as they look to defend their SLC championship. Their first conference matchup will be against McNeese State September 16th at Strawberry Stadium.
Coming off a season in which it tallied 13 wins, the Lady Lions volleyball team hoped that momentum would carry into an even greater 2016 campaign. So far, this hasn't been the case. The young squad, which just has 4 seniors, has started the season 1-8 and is currently on an 8-game losing streak after winning its season opener against Southern. The Lady Lions have 3 non-conference games remaining before returning home September 22nd to begin Southland Conference play when they welcome in the Lamar Cardinals.
With a new head coach and an extremely inexperienced squad, the There was some uncertainty surrounding the Lion cross-country team heading into its 2016 campaign. That uncertainty has quickly turned to optimism, however, as the men's team placed first and the women's second at the UNO Invitational before following that performance up with a fourth-place finish at the Azalea City Classic at South Alabama. The Lions return to the course September 17th when they'll make the short trip to Baton Rouge for the LSU Cross-Country Invitational.
After winning a Southland Conference tournament game in just its second season under head coach Jay Ladner, the Lions basketball team added some new faces to bolster its roster as the Lions continue to rebuild themselves into a contender in the Southland Conference. 5 new players signed on to become part of Lion Nation as point guard Michael Corciani, small forward Brandon Gonzalez, guard Devon Hayes, shooting guard Chris Mejia, and point guard Eddie Polanco will all be on the roster for the 2016-17 season. Of the 5, Corciani is the only Louisiana native hailing from Country Day in Metairie. McDonough 35's George Brock is the only transfer to this year's team as he makes his way from Dodge City Community College. When we return, we'll discuss the college football playoff, Southeastern football, and more, and our favorite part of the show, Pick and Roll, is coming up after the break.
The Southeastern Channel offers a lot for a sports fan.
Coaches shows, interviews with student athletes.
Football games, baseball games, basketball games.
I enjoy watching the coaches' insight programs after online tracks because it does give our fans an insight of what happened during the game.
I enjoy watching the big game. You know, it gives me an opportunity to keep up with Southeastern athletics on a weekly basis. You know, not just football, baseball, basketball, but even the smaller sports, you know, like soccer and volleyball.
One of the things I've enjoyed most through the years watching is the production of the glory years.
It's a history, it's a documentation of where we've come from around here.
Solidified the reason why we brought Southeastern football back.
When the Southeastern Channel replays games, it helps the students be able to catch up and see what's going on.
I like to watch the baseball games and the football games.
It's the only time I get to watch Southeastern football is I get to see it on television. I don't ever have time to go.
Even athletics can be an educational experience when you involve the Southeastern Channel.
Hello and welcome back to The Big Game. I'm John Sartori alongside Freddie Rosario, and joining us now on the set is our guest expert, Jordan Rheams. Thanks for joining us, Jordan.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're going to start with Southeastern football. It was a loss last week against Southern Utah, but there was a lot to be learned in that loss against Southern Utah. Jordan, what are you looking at from that loss to carry into the rest of the season for Southeastern?
What I'm taking away from the loss is the change at quarterback play. They put in Justin Allo. They went away from Deshae Landor. Deshae is a productive quarterback. When it comes to ground game, I feel like Justin has more of an arm. He can move the chains a little bit better. And we saw last season it was more of a ground and pound as opposed to this season when they can air it out more. That ground and pound game works, but it doesn't work well all the time. And we saw that last season. But I feel like the Lions, they have what it takes this season if they just get that quarterback play right.
Freddie, when the season started, there was a lot of uncertainty about what Southeastern would do. It seems like there's a little more certainty now that Justin Allo's in at quarterback.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Allo's been a great boost offensively through the air, as Jordan mentioned, and I feel like the main key for Lions is Kalen Henderson, man. Just run that dude as much as you can because he is going to bring you wins into the promised land. The way I see it is it's going to be more like a Big Ben style, Pittsburgh Steelers, control the game. Joe Flacco, Ravens, kind of quarterback just controls the game a little bit, goes, and they just hand the ball off, hand the ball off, hand the ball off, and that's what Kalen Henderson is going to be this year. And I feel if they do that, they'll win some games in the Southland Conference.
Henderson, a converted defensive back off the defense from last year. And then watching that game, it really seemed like even in the loss, it was the first time in a year that there was something to be excited about for Southeastern. There was just never that momentum around the program that there was after last week, at least in my opinion. The second thing that we're going to touch on is the NFL. Obviously, at this point in the season, it's way too early to really know who's a contender, who's a pretender. But at this point, Jordan, who are your 2 Super Bowl teams and why?
Man, my 2 Super Bowl teams, I have to go with the Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Carolina, Cam did all those great things last season. He didn't even have Kelvin Benjamin, so I'm just excited to see what he does this year. Pittsburgh, they don't have Le'Veon Bell right now, but they still look good with Antonio Ben. They have that chemistry. I just feel like when they get Le'Veon back, man, they're a dangerous team.
Freddie, it was on this set that you said the Broncos had no chance at the Super Bowl last year. I know you want to avenge that. Who are your 2 teams?
Oh, man, I could not have been more disappointed in the Denver Broncos, but that's a discussion for another day. I'm buying into the New England Patriots like I do every single year. Tom Brady's going to come back. He's going to right the ship. Jimmy G is going to get them 3 wins. They'll be all right. Don't worry, Patriots Nation. They're going to the Super Bowl, and they'll be the team out of the AFC. I think out of the NFC, I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals because I want my man Larry Fitzgerald to get to the Super Bowl and finally win one. Even though I don't think he'll do it against the Patriots, maybe another team, but I say I got New England and the Cardinals.
Jordan, I got to agree with you. Unless something changes about the way Cam Newton can play football, even with the loss in Week 1 to the Broncos, I don't see a lot of people beating the Carolina Panthers this year. And then out of the AFC, I got to go with the Patriots right now just because it's early, and I'm going to go with them. They're 1-0, so I'm going to go with them. Our last topic of the day, college football is starting up, and the best 2 weeks of college football we've seen in a long time. Who are your 4 college football playoff teams and why right now, Jordan?
It's been a heck of a week, John. My favorite 4 teams right now, you got, of course, Alabama. They're always at number 1, if not they're 2. But I got to watch Florida State. I know it's early. They had that close game to Ole Miss. We saw DeAndre Francois go off. And I know it's early, but come on, guys. You can't ignore 400 yards passing. You can't ignore that. Now, I'm jumping on the bandwagon. Texas Longhorns.
Okay.
You guys don't agree? You guys?
I don't agree, but you can continue.
Yeah. Texas had that close game with Notre Dame. People say they're young. People say it's just a fluke. I feel like Texas is back. And last but not least, this is a tough one, but I got Deshaun Watson and the Clemson Tigers.
All right then, Jordan. I'm going to disagree with a lot of those. But, Freddie, I'm going to hear yours, and hopefully I agree a little bit more.
Could we have an even crazier first 2 weeks of football with the NFL coming back, college football, crazy plays all around, but the way I see it shaking out, Alabama's going to be there, obligated. They're going to go 13-0, whatever they're going to do SEC. Boring pick. I feel like Ohio State got snubbed last year. They're making it this year. They'll be in there. There's no way they can't be. They will not be denied this year from the college football playoff. I feel like Michigan State needs to be in there too. They played great last season. Maybe some of the momentum from that will carry over into this season. And then I'm going with Clemson too. I think Clemson, Deshaun Watson, they'll be great this year and they'll make it in there. Don't know who wins yet, but we'll see.
Really quick, you're going with 2 Big Ten teams and no Big 12 or Pac-12. So what do you think is going to happen in the Big 12 or Pac-12?
I think they'll just cannibalize themselves. I think the strength of their schedules between those 2 conferences, they'll get a couple of losses each, and then hopefully those other teams go undefeated. Maybe we'll get 2 from another conference instead of the SEC for once because I think we're all tired of seeing SEC teams in the championship.
Absolutely. I'm going to go Alabama. Obvious pick. Whoever wins the SEC gets in. So I'm going Alabama. Going Ohio State. Going to be tough to beat Ohio State. It was an upset when they lost last year. And then the 2 that not a lot of people are talking about. I'm going with Louisville to beat Florida State this weekend, and I'm going with them to run the table. Lamar Jackson, an early Heisman candidate. I know Louisville, they're always that team that starts strong and then they lose 4 or 5 games. But if they beat Florida State, I think they got a chance. And then Houston. I'm going Houston Cougars, Greg Ward Jr. If they go undefeated, I think they'll be in there. That'll do it for this episode of The Big Game. We thank you so much for joining us. For more information on Lion Athletics, please visit www.lionsports.net. For Jordan Rheams and Freddie Rosario, I'm John Sartori. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you right here next time on The Big Game.